Coming into the Pro Football Pod,
Pod,
You've
pod,
got
pod, pod, pod.
Coach Austin Holt, bringing you the best previews every day.
Welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We have the best hype man in the business. Burn, 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 burn.
Don't
We
need a soundboard over
you're,
here.
You're only watching this if you made the playoffs. Come on
for
now.
real, for
All
real.
the
Congratulations.
losers are going to sleep.
You're still
crying.
in it,
You're
and
still
I
in
might
it?
not be.
Yeah,
I don't know
if you're
yet.
still watching this, you need the content. You need to know because you're still going. So congrats
Hell
to you.
yeah.
Congrats to us. You know,
The ones
congrats
that made
to
it.
me.
Hey,
Yeah.
Justin
Pat
got
yourselves on the
3-0.
back.
He sweeped it. My one league that I'm absolutely probably going to make it in is the Pro Football Pod League. So shout out to the Pro Football Pod and winning 13 games
Josh
this
Jacobs,
year.
I forgot to take him out.
Oof. Big oof.
Yeah.
Actually, in that
But, hey,
league, I forgot to
Justin,
take
I'll
out
see
my
you there.
kicker, and then my opponent forgot to take out Chris Olave. So, hats off.
It's a
Much
rough
different.
week, you know.
It was a rough week.
When Christmas comes a coming, you know.
But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about week 16. We got some matchups for you. I'm excited.
Some playoff seeding implications starting immediately this week as
So
well.
I want to talk
yeah.
about one game, all right? Two phenomenal offenses versus two phenomenal defenses playing in the lights. Obviously,
Cleveland versus Houston.
Baltimore
That's
versus San
literally what I was
Francisco.
looking
Okay, sorry.
So,
Cleveland, Houston.
are you guys afraid of starting any of the star players on this team? Now, obviously, we were just talking about Odell Beckham and how he underperformed a little bit last week. And Isaiah Likely showed out, and like I'm really afraid of starting a lot of Ravens players because if it's not Lamar, it's hard to guess. Like I don't know who's gonna be the hand this week.
Likely.
Now, this will
It's
be
likely to be it's likely to be a guy who's plays on the near tight like end of the line, and he'll be going out for routes and catching ball. Isaiah Likely.
I
will
mean,
be
it's
the
almost
answer
certain
you're looking
likely
for.
will be likely. Yeah.
Likely
Now,
will
this-
be him.
The Niners defense, their run defense is a lot stronger than their pass defense.
Absolutely, their
Now, obviously,
coverage has
they
been
have a
bad.
good pass rush, but Lamar is Lamar, so you're not necessarily worried about that. So
Though,
because
he
of
got
that,
taken
I
down a
think
lot
there's
by
a
the
lot of
Jags.
opportunities for Odell and for Zay to have, a better game than what they put on versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville, it was more, they didn't really have necessarily the need.
Yeah,
Like they kind of, for me, coasted from start to finish of that game. Lamar just took 15 yards anytime he wanted to. It was just there in front of him. And
Well,
so
he
for
can
me-
do that anytime he wants to against
Exactly.
anybody.
And so for me, offensively for the 49ers, I'm not scared of anybody just because of how Shanahan can scheme.
Now, what
Christian
about
McCaffrey's
Ayuk?
still going to give you his stuff. Ayuk doesn't worry me. I still think
He
Ayuk
did
can
real
give
bad
you.
last week and the week before. Whenever Debo goes
It's not that
off,
he's bad.
whenever Debo goes off, then Ayuk doesn't show up. And Debo
Is it-
only had 4 targets. Like, where did he go off? He had 2 touchdowns, but like,
It does. I don't like the way you're speaking about him. Though it's like you don't need him. They didn't need him.
but that's my
the-
problem is that I
they're
needed him.
using.
I
Okay,
needed
I
him,
see. I
Austin.
see. I see.
See,
The
for me,
Debo,
it's the same
they only
thing.
need Debo and
It's-
McCaffrey
For me,
to
it's
do
the
work.
same thing though as the Ravens. The Ravens run D, it's much stronger than their pass D. So
Yeah.
because of that, Shanahan obviously
same for
knows
both
that.
teams.
So I think this is a game where you see a lot of McCaffrey getting swing passes out of the backfield. I'm not worried about Debo, Kittle, or Ayuk. Now I know it's a lot of mouths to feed, but I don't think this is going to be a game where they just run away with it and they're just able to pound the rock 25 times.
I think you're right
You-
in that you have to start your star guys. You have to start Ayuk
You have
because
to.
the
They brought
reality
you to
is
this point.
it's 2 top offenses. It's like we said before we even started this. Both of these offenses are top 10. Both of these defenses are top 10. So who's going to control the ball this game isn't going to be one-sided. They're both going to get opportunity. They're both going to get decent drives. They're both going to get stops. Like, it's going to be a nice, even football game. I think that you have to play
Super
Ayuk.
Bowl potential preview.
I mean, it
what
is.
If
It's
we're
my
being
Super
honest.
Bowl. My prediction is that these are the two teams that make the Super Bowl. The Dolphins aren't really ready
It
to be able to
should
make
be.
it. We're
I
not going
totally
to beat
agree with
Baltimore
you.
in Baltimore in the playoffs. Like, we might beat them next week, but we're not going to beat them in Baltimore in the playoffs. So we don't have that team yet. I don't think so, at least.
Well, if you're healthy, you can. No,
True,
100%
but
you
we're
can.
not healthy, man. Our offensive line.
But no, I was
lots of
saying I
problems.
agree with you. Like, it should be a competitive game, but like if I had to put money on it, like I mean, San Fran has just been dominating. Like,
Yeah.
so like I just lean that way, and I lean for them to dominate and for their defense to stop not Lamar, but everything Lamar is doing with his team. Like any other player is going to be stopped. I feel like it's just going to be Lamar scrambling, and they're just going to shut him down. Like, look at how Kyler Murray performed against them. Like, you'll get maybe a Lamar touchdown scramble, but like I don't see them being able to compete with them. I really don't. Like, that's
Now-
my true and honest opinion about I don't think that
I agree.
The
I don't
Ravens
think
have
they
the firepower.
They're gonna have
Exactly.
to. It's gonna have to be ball controlled, milk the clock. Don't allow that offense on the field.
You have to stop the 49ers. The 49ers
They just lost their
offense,
backup running back,
their
and their
offense-
starting tight end.
Their offense almost feels like the 49ers offense almost feels like its strongest unit. And I think it is. But their defense is still just so freaking terrifying that, like, you're
Their
not
only
okay.
weak point is over the top. Like, you have to just bomb it over the top. So Lamar's got to see that opportunity, and he's got to know that going in. He's got to watch film and know that going in. You know, like
Now, in a game on the flip side, for fantasy purposes, with our doing quarterback wide receiver preview here, another big, huge game for both teams. Dallas versus Miami. Going into Miami for Dallas, Miami's going to be rocking the Aqua throwbacks. So,
Let's
that's,
go.
special time of year for them. But
The orange
these two,
socks.
I don't think anything really matters, especially being down in Miami, as far as neither defenses shows the ability to just absolutely shut down an offense, especially when the offense has
Well,
weapons like both of
they
these
both
teams
have shown that they can, but like I feel like
But
both of
not
these
when a
offenses
team
are
has
good enough to
weapons
get
like
through
this.
these defenses.
Exactly.
Like they
Like-
have the type of weapons too.
Ramsey's
Is
been-
Tyreek gonna play?
Ramsey's been
That's the
awesome,
big question.
but
He's been
CeeDee Lamb
shutting
has
down
also been
number one
awesome.
targets, and he's not going to shut down CeeDee Lamb. We said it for the last 5 weeks. CeeDee Lamb's a top 3 receiver in the NFL. There is no corner that's going to
No,
shut
to
him
me-
down every play. Now he's
For
going to get shut
Dallas-
down a lot of plays, but that's the difference: is that he's going to get his shit done still. He's
Yeah.
going to get his work in.
He's just too big and quick.
For
and-
Dallas, the key for me
everything.
is Brandon Cooks and Ferguson.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I believe those
They
two
have
have
to
to
get
have
it.
big games, and I think Pollard has to have a solid game on the ground. But the Dolphins have been stifling versus the run as of late.
Both of these teams have lost a lot in the linebacking core, I believe. I mean, I know the Cowboys have, so like
Losing
I feel
Jerome
like the
Baker
Dolphins have
really
too.
didn't affect us in that, like, the way that
Duke Riley is a
Duke
great
Riley.
coverage linebacker, and we have the benefit of David Long still
for
being
the run,
like
he stops the run so
he's,
well
he's
for us.
good right now. Now, the one thing as a Dolphins fan that does give me hope for a potential win is what the Cowboys just showed versus the Bills. The Bills have been solid running the ball all year, but they haven't been close to that. And shout out to Dan Orlovsky on ESPN. He actually pointed out the reasons as to why. The way they were shifting their line, going away from Parsons, not even blocking Parsons, forcing him to chase, and going at the smaller linebackers of the Cowboys and things like to where, as looking at the Dolphins for how they've played throughout the season, they've been one of the top teams running the ball, one of the more efficient teams running the ball.
And it's been scheme. It's not because our running back's the best.
And that's the thing is the scheme for it. And again, I go back to the motion factor that the Cowboys just have trouble with a lot of motions. And the running game
That's
and the motions are exactly what gives y'all problems with San Francisco. And
that's
that,
why I
like I
wish
said,
that
this is.
Parsons would
I'm
go
not saying I
back to
think
the
the Dolphins
linebacker.
win because I don't really
I
want to
agree with
pick
you,
this game
Austin.
right now.
We said it in
But
the
that's what gives me hope.
we said it in the offseason that we all thought, well, you guys both thought that Parsons was going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Hmm.
And I think my pick was Myles Garrett or no, who's the other
Nick
big
Bosa. Do you think
Nick
Bosa was?
Bosa. I thought it was going to be
Yeah.
Bosa. And honestly, Bosa
Actually,
hasn't.
I need to
Bosa.
go back and rewatch that episode from the beginning of the year and jot down who we all picked
So we can
and see how
figure it
close
out.
we
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Because I honestly have no idea.
But
Oh, yeah, it's Parsons and then Bosa.
But what I said in that episode was that I thought that if Parsons played more of a linebacker role, that he would have more of an influence and that he would be able to not be Defensive Player of the Year. He'll be the best defensive end if he plays only defensive end. But he just has
This
more
is the
impact in the
perfect
game.
game to just step back into that role, especially whenever you're getting beat over and over and over. Like, how do you not just say, like, okay, I need to step back so I can see? Like, he is our defense. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's the heart of it. So, like, and he's played linebacker.
Lawrence has
It's
been
not like
playing
he
great,
hasn't.
too.
That's where he moved from, his 2D line. So,
Yeah.
like, just move back to your position and just, like, dominate the field. Stop the run game first. Like, and then blitz and, like, do all that stuff. It is so nice being a linebacker and being able to hit any hole you want to.
He's been a non-factor in the run game though because he doesn't do well receiving run blocks and like he's not a big 6'8", defensive end that's able to just live in the trenches. I think that what we'll see is that he ends up moving to more of like that nickel role where he's like that nickel linebacker. He kind of is a coverage backer.
That would be nice.
Roaming.
It's just a hybrid. We should call it.
I found our list. I found him. Me and Austin had Michael Parsons.
I had Nick Bosa.
Coach, you had Nick Bosa. MVP, you had Pat Mahomes. I had Joe Burrow. Austin had Joe Burrow. Oh, that's terrible. Offensive Player of the Year, you had Jamar Chase. I had Jamar Chase. Coach had Tyreek Hill. Good call for you because that's probably going to happen.
Yes.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Coach had Jahmyr Gibbs. Me and Austin both had Anthony Richardson.
Nobody thought it was going to be
Damn,
right
injuries on all three.
Us, dog. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson Jr. I think we might be okay with that one.
No, Jalen Smith is
Stingley.
going to win it. No, Smith's winning it, bro. From the Eagles, dude, that dude is winning it. It's not even going to be close.
You mean
Derek
Jordan
Stingley
Davis?
Jr.?
No. The guy, the defensive tackle that they took at like 4 or 8 or something.
Nah.
Jordan Davis?
I thought his last name was Smith.
No. Jordan Davis.
Jalen something.
Jalen Smith used to be a linebacker that played for the Cowboys.
I don't know. But yeah, the defensive player for the Eagles, whose name I don't know, he's definitely winning defensive rookie of the year.
I don't know. Derek Stingley Jr.
He's been good
Houston's
since he came back from
cornerback.
injury, but he hasn't played all the games. And I don't think
He's also not a rookie.
Yeah, he's a second-year
Oh, he's
player.
not.
Yeah, he was a rookie last year.
He's young though.
Yes, he is.
But another game
There hasn't really been one
here
that's
as far
like
as the
top.
quarterback, quarterback wide receiver matchups here is Jacksonville versus Tampa Bay. Baker, after the game that he just had, a lot of people probably had to pick him up off of waivers and stuff like that. If you did, you got the benefits because dude went off.
Man,
Trevor
I played
Lawrence
against Baker.
Trevor Lawrence, I mean, with how bad the Buccaneers' pass defense is,
This is a must-win game. So Trevor Lawrence has the same record as
for
Houston
both teams.
now.
For both teams, this is a must-win game.
I think Houston is. Sorry.
Neither team has good pass defenses, so I look for both of the wide receivers on both sides to eat as well.
If Nico Collins is probably going to play in this game because he was almost playing in last week's game.
Nico Collins plays for Houston.
I know that. If he does play, I think I'm still playing Noah Brown this week. Houston being tied with Jacksonville, having the opportunity to potentially win their division, I think is huge. And I think that Jacksonville's kind of on the same slate. Like, I really like Ridley. I really like Zay Jones because of what this team is going to need. They can't grind out games anymore. These teams are on a we need to show everyone what we have every week, because if we lose another game, we're not making the playoffs. Like, that's the way it is. So
Yep.
I think that these offenses are going to be pulling out all the stops. CJ Stroud should 100% be back from concussion protocol. The only quarterback that's ever missed more than 1 week was Tua Tagovailoa, and that was because of the media. Had nothing to do with his concussion. So I think that we see CJ Stroud back, and I'm all in on their passing attack again. I am close to saying that I might put in Robert Woods. I don't really want to, because he didn't do it enough last week with Nico
That's
Collins being
desperate.
out. But he could get that touchdown, man. Like, it's a touchdown dependent. If I'm like in an absolute, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Who am I gonna possibly start? And Robert Woods is on my
Gardner.
waiver wire. I might put someone like that in.
Gardner Minshew for QBs.
Minshew Mania is live, dude, and they're on the same exact. They're 8-6.
Yep.
Not gonna win their division. Maybe could. Like, it's really close. So
Another one.
It
Just
sucks
a
they
great
lost
game
Pittman,
for both sides.
but like I feel
is-
like he's just matchup proof. with
Pittman's
whatever
probably only
guys
gonna have
he's
to miss
working
one
with.
game.
Yeah.
And Downs should end up seeing an uptick if Pittman misses too. I might look starting
Alec
Downs.
Pierce and Downs.
Pierce is almost a
Those are
better
your
call than
dudes.
Downs, because he's more of that receiver. He's not. I don't know. Downs was doing really well at just like being a Zay Flowers looking type, but then he's just not getting targeted enough anymore.
Well,
and
this
he's
is
scaring
like
me.
that opportunity for him though with Pittman.
And even,
like
I
if you
think
don't
he
see it,
gets
then it's scary.
targeted plenty in this game.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
should. They should be game planning him all week long. Him in the run game. I
Yeah.
think that JT coming back is going to help them a lot, but we'll talk about that on the running back tight ends preview later in this week.
One last game that I just think's good on both sides for fantasy purposes is Detroit, Minnesota. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and throw for 300 again, but Nick Mullins showed, at least for
Yes, sir.
Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson owners, like, hey, you don't need to stress out. Like, I can get your boys points out here.
At least Jefferson, and honestly, dude, Addison getting as much work as he did is really something that we should have predicted. Rookie or young quarterback that isn't playing with the ones every week isn't going to have a lot of time to work with frickin' Justin Jefferson. But I bet he worked with Jordan Addison all offseason. The rookie mini camp, during training camp, whenever he was doing work with the twos before Addison became a one. So I think that we see Addison step up again. I'm probably confident as him as an wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 this week. Like, I don't see
Same
any
with,
reason why we don't see that happen again.
And yeah, we'll talk about him on the running back, but Ty Chandler. as well
Now,
for Madison
Jameson Williams, man, he was getting some targets in that game and he was looking decent. He wasn't just running go routes. Like, he was running crossers. He was getting catches and making moves. I liked what I saw from him as a player. Not going to start him this week. Not looking at even starting him this season. But going forward, it was interesting. As much as he's just disappeared every week, we finally saw them start to work him in a game that they kind of needed him in the beginning, and then they just took off with it.
Yeah, that's all I've got so far as like your big heavy matchups for fantasy, to where, if you've just got the teams in just that game, you're good, especially for the daily fantasy players and stuff like that. Those are the games you're trying to target, especially in stacks and stuff like that, because Amon-Ra is going to eat versus the Vikings.
Now,
So-
Puka Nakua's not showing up this past week. Cooper Kupp getting a majority of the work. Puka's been on this historic rookie tear on targets and catches and yards and everything. He had a chance to break almost every rookie record. Rams are trying to make the playoffs too. I think that they start to go more towards Kupp. That's obviously Stafford's guy. So
Now they both
If
had
records
8
are in play,
targets.
though,
They both had.
Yeah, I'm
8
about to say.
targets. Kupp just had 5 receptions, or Kupp had
I
caught all of his, whereas Puka missed on 3 of them.
yeah.
I saw Puka getting fed, and he was definitely
was
in
all
the
early in the
game
game.
script.
That was
Yeah.
the issue for me. Is like they worked him in early, and then whenever it was like let's start running the clock out, like it's like he wasn't seen as a safe enough option that they just went to Cooper and all those big opportunities. And I respect that. He's a top 10 receiver in talent. He should be getting the ball. It makes me worry a little bit about Puka for the future. Like for starting him this week and next week.
Not at all, bro.
It's Thursday night this week. You're on a short week versus the Saints. Saints have a solid defense, but this is one of those games where you're worried about blowout potential.
Whichever team wins this game makes the playoffs.
With the Rams.
In a
Blowout
lot of
potential with the
senses.
Rams.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of
Yeah.
senses, whichever team wins this game makes the playoffs. So I think we see both teams show up for sure.
I think this is definitely like a shootout type caliber make. Like it has the potential for it.
I mean,
Both
the
these
Commanders
teams
were
are just like
a possession
high-powered.
away from tying it up with the Rams. If they just had any type of clock management skills, they had a chance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm with you there. It's one of those to where you start him and you just kind of, please God, just give me 7 targets and hope he can make the best of them. Get in the end zone. Don't let Demarcus Robinson steal one from you.
That was my big thing, I guess, is because it's not even 2-2. Now all of a sudden, Demarcus Robinson's coming in and getting these really good targets and getting touchdowns on them. And like, I don't like seeing that. I want to see, because there's 2 mouths to feed in that offense before you even touch the running back. I want to see both of them get fed. Like, that's what I want. I think that both of them are worthy of being fed. It's similar to Tyreek and Waddle. I'm surprised that Waddle has had the mediocre season that he has because he's been healthy most of the year and Tyreek's been just on a tear. So the fact that like Tua wasn't able to get Waddle worked in and getting him, 50 to 100 yards a game every game, that's, I don't know, it's something a little bit surprising. But
hold up. So like I mean if you need a deep sleeper receiver, that boy Wicks for the Packers.
he's getting a lot of targets. A lot of targets.
He's been getting worked.
He got more work than
Jaden Reed is gonna be. He could potentially miss this game, so like I mean that's gonna be the number one
Watson
dude over there.
missed last week and was pretty much
Watson's
doubtful
was
going
out.
into it, so we might see him this week. But Davian Wicks got 10 targets the week before, and I think got another 8 this past week. He's been he's
7
been getting
for 6 receptions and 97 yards. So yeah.
And so I try to recap this, every episode with y'all. Who's your favorite rookie receiver after this week?
Up to this point in the season,
Puka Nacua.
Yeah. Who's your favorite to watch? Who's your favorite, moving forward?
Okay, I think that then my answer to that would be Jackson Smith. I still think that he's going to be the best talent moving forward. I think he'll be the best talent.
I mean, like moving forward this
Jordan
year.
Addison for me is right
moving
there
forward
as well.
this year.
Jordan Addison's right there. I think he's great, but I think that Jordan Addison actually has a number 1 target in front of him, so he'll always be the Waddle to Hill. Yeah. Whereas there is nobody in front of Jackson Smith and Jigba that I see as a threat to him. Lockett is an older.
That's the issue. And so the one receiver I got who has nobody in front of him who's showing that he's the number 1 is Rashid Rice. And that boy is just
that's a great call.
He's a dog.
That's a great call.
He's a thug. He's a dude.
He's also prototypical size. He's 6'2". Like he's at the.
He is that guy. He's the next, not the next Tyreek for them, but just like the next number 1 receiver for that team.
And he could take over Kelsey's role in a lot of ways. Like what Kelsey does, he can do. Sitting in little zones and like working it properly and all of that. That's what he's been doing. That's why he's had success this year. Is because he's playing into their system so well. He's not just out there running routes and running fast and trying to be Quentin Johnston and just catch one big one and make it worth it. Like he's actually been working it in. I've liked his game a lot. I still think Jackson Smith, route running, hands, he doesn't have the size and speed. He's elite. And I don't need size in my receivers anymore. I think that part of the NFL is gone with the way that they have these timing throws and like able to make it over the linebacker but under the safety. Like you don't
He
need
just has
someone
so
that's 6'6".
too big of heads ahead of him. Like he needs them traded out or like to retire before he's gonna really be the
DK?
guy. Like
Nah.
Jalen Reed is like to me like
DK
next year. I'd rather have Rasheed Rice and Jalen Reed over Jackson Smith. You know, like any day.
Who was
These dudes are getting fed.
whenever Eric Decker was the wide receiver 2 for the Broncos, the year that they both got 1,000 yards, and Peyton broke the record. Who was wide receiver 1?
Demaryius Thomas.
Demaryius Thomas. I think that that's what DK Metcalf can be. Is he can be the Eric Decker to like the Demaryius Thomas level talent, which is what Jackson Smith and Jigba is.
Okay,
DK Metcalf will
just
never.
threw up in my mouth.
He'll never be
We
Demaryius
gotta
Thomas.
just put the music on.
He'll never be that. But he could be the best
Dude,
wide receiver 2 in the
you
league.
just said the
He could be
big
that.
monster guy isn't gonna be Demaryius Thomas.
He's not.
DK isn't Demaryius.
He's not.
He's the
Demaryius
monster.
was a tactician at running routes. He was soft hands. He caught everything. He was great because of all those things. It wasn't just his strength. DK will be able to run a decent amount of routes, which is what Eric Decker was. He was fast enough and strong enough and able to get up there. But he'll never be Mike Evans. I don't think DK will ever be Mike Evans.
You just said DK is Eric Decker. That's
how I feel.
That just sink in for a moment.
He might have a 12-pack or whatever, but that doesn't make him a great route runner. Like, all right, my bad. He's got the 24. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining in on the quarterback wide receiver preview. Make sure to stop by Tulsi Rose Tea at tulsirosetea.com for all your tea needs. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. And we'll be bringing you guys another episode later in the week. So see you then. Peace.
Goodbye, farewell to you, my friend. So long for now, until